Welcome to Grand Prix, your favorite place to get the newest Formula One news. We have 3 exciting stories for you, so make sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Let's start. Christian Horner might not be done with Formula One racing yet. A Spanish newspaper called El Confidencial says the old Red Bull team boss is secretly working on an amazing comeback after Red Bull fired him last week. Horner is talking about buying the Alpine F1 team with Bernie Ecclestone, who used to be the big boss of all Formula One. This could happen because Alpine is having lots of problems right now. The French team has had 6 different bosses in just 3 years. Lots of fighting between people who work there involving Flavio Briatore, and drivers keep leaving and coming back. They're not doing well in races either, which makes people think that Renault, Alpine's parent company, might want to sell the team if someone offers them enough money. People say Briatore getting involved with Alpine recently might be part of a bigger plan to get the team ready to be sold, even though no one has said this is definitely true yet. El Confidencial says Bernie Ecclestone was one of the first people to call Horner after Red Bull suddenly kicked him out. During that phone call, Ecclestone supposedly suggested that they should work together to buy Alpine and make it into a championship-winning team again. Since Ecclestone knows how to make teams better and Horner led Red Bull to win many championships, they could bring a really powerful mix of business smarts and racing knowledge to Formula One. This rumor makes the guessing about Horner's future even more interesting. Earlier, people said he might go work for Ferrari, Aston Martin, or even Audi's new F1 project. But none of those things happened. Now Alpine seems like the team he's most likely to join. For Horner, buying a team would be totally different from what he's done before. Instead of just being another team boss, he could be at the very top of a whole organization, controlling it not just during races but also in the business meetings. This would let him have more control over plans, team culture, and direction than ever before, something he might really want after all the political fights that made him leave Red Bull. For Alpine, having Horner and Ecclestone take over could mean starting completely fresh. While having Renault's factory support is nice and important, the team has struggled for a long time to get back to being as good as they were in the mid-2000s under Brabham's leadership. With Horner's proven ability to build teams around young, talented drivers and Ecclestone's money connections, Alpine might finally have what it needs to fight consistently at the front of the grid. Of course, there are big problems to solve. Renault hasn't wanted to completely give up its F1 team before, preferring partnerships like the one that changed its team's name to Alpine. Any sale would also need careful talks to make stakeholders, sponsors, and racing authorities happy. Still, one thing is for sure, Christian Horner doesn't seem ready to quietly disappear from the sport he helped control. Whether through buying a team or getting a big leadership job somewhere else, he really wants to come back to F1. So what do you think? Would a Horner and Ecclestone partnership be the ultimate Formula One power move? Is Alpine the right team for Horner to rebuild and lead back to winning? Or should he focus on finding a regular team boss job where he can do what he does best? Leading from the pit wall, Ferrari has a really important moment this Wednesday at Mugello as the Italian team finally tests its new rear suspension for the SF25 car on the track. After weeks of hard work and lots of computer testing, the team is excited to see if what looks really good on computers actually works in real life. According to Motorsport Italia, the computer tests with the new suspension showed big improvements, especially in keeping the car stable and making the tires last longer. 2 of the SF25's biggest problems this season. The first results suggest they could go about 0.1 seconds faster per lap. While that might not sound like much, in the super competitive world of Formula One, it could mean the difference between fighting for podiums or being stuck in the middle of the pack. The upgrade is all about mechanics, not aerodynamics, meaning they focused on making the car handle better when braking, going through corners, and speeding up. Ferrari's engineers think this new suspension design will give drivers Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton a more steady and predictable car to get good performance from, especially during longer parts of races where tire wear has been a big problem for the team all season. This Wednesday's test means driving 200 kilometers with the new setup. Both Leclerc and Hamilton will drive the SF25 to give feedback from their different driving styles. Leclerc's aggressive way of turning into corners and Hamilton's preference for a stable rear end during acceleration will give Ferrari a complete picture of how the update works in race-like conditions. If the results are as good as the computer tests suggested, Ferrari plans to use the new rear suspension as early as the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. This timing would give them an important weapon in the fight against McLaren, Mercedes, and a still dangerous Red Bull in the second half of the season. Plus, the team sees this as more than just a quick fix for 2025, with big rule changes coming in 2026, including Ferrari's new engine and updated car rules. What they learn from this suspension design could help their next-generation car. Basically, this isn't just about getting faster now, it's about setting up Ferrari to be competitive in the future. However, Ferrari's competitors aren't just sitting around doing nothing. McLaren keeps impressing everyone with how fast they develop new parts during the season. Red Bull, despite having some rough times, is still a threat with Verstappen's amazing driving, and Mercedes seems to have found stability with its updated car concept. For Ferrari, making this rear suspension upgrade work is really important if they want to avoid becoming the fourth best team in what has become a fierce four-way battle. The stakes are clear. Success at Mugello could put Ferrari back in the conversation for race wins and potentially change the momentum in a season that has shown flashes of brilliance but hasn't been consistent. Failure, however, might force the team to focus entirely on 2026 even earlier than they planned. So what do you think? Will Ferrari's new suspension give them the breakthrough they need to fight for victories more consistently? Or is it too late for Maranello to fight their way back into the competition this year? Could this be the first step toward a real comeback, or just another missed opportunity? Yuki Tsunoda's time at Red Bull looks like it might be ending soon. According to sources from GP Blog, the Austrian team has decided not to keep the Japanese driver after the 2025 season. If Max Verstappen stays with Red Bull, he will get a new teammate for 2026. It's important to remember that Tsunoda was moved up from Racing Bulls, formerly called AlphaTauri, to the main Red Bull racing team earlier this season, replacing Liam Lawson after just 2 races. People saw this move as a big risk, hoping to bring fresh energy and potentially help Verstappen in a way that Perez and Lawson hadn't. However, after 10 races, the results have been disappointing. Tsunoda has only scored points once with a 9th finish, while all his other races have left him outside the points. Red Bull's internal review reportedly shows they're disappointed. The team had hoped that Tsunoda's aggressive racing style and improvement during his years with AlphaTauri would turn into stronger performances, but instead, the experiment seems to have failed, leading to the decision to let him go at the end of 2025, despite the poor results. Tsunoda will likely stay in the car until the season ends. Meanwhile, his management is actively looking for options for 2026. One of the most likely places he could go is Aston Martin. With Honda becoming Aston Martin's engine supplier in 2026, the Japanese company, which has been really important in Tsunoda's F1 career from the beginning, could use its influence to get him a testing or reserve driver role. This would at least keep Tsunoda connected to the F1 world and Honda's long-term plans. Cadillac, another team that might take displaced drivers, seems to have shifted its focus toward other names like Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, and Mick Schumacher further down the grid. Opportunities also seem hard to find for teams like Haas or Williams haven't shown much interest so far, meaning his 6th season in Formula One could very well be his last as a full-time driver. This situation shows just how tough Formula One can be. Tsunoda, once called Japan's great hope for bringing in new generation fans, now faces an uncertain future. His natural talent and aggressive driving style have been praised before, but being consistent has always been his biggest weakness. The Red Bull environment, famous for its brutal performance expectations, has given him very little room for mistakes. On the other hand, some people argue Tsunoda has never really had the right car to show his full potential. At AlphaTauri, he was often held back by underperforming cars. Now at Red Bull, he's competing against a benchmark like Verstappen, making even decent drives look mediocre by comparison. Could it be that with a supportive team and competitive car, Tsunoda might still deliver on the promise Honda saw in him years ago? As the F1 silly season heats up, Tsunoda's fate will depend on more than just his on-track results. Honda's backing remains his strongest advantage, but with younger